What started as a simple question quietly spiraled into a moment that stopped the entire studio cold. What happens when the most photographed woman on the planet walks onto a live daytime stage and realizes the room is no longer on her side? What happens when a smile meant for the camera slowly tightens and a single question turns into a moment no publicist can save? Before we begin, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and drop a comment if you're ready for real, unfiltered talk show drama, because this moment changed everything. The applause hits first. Loud, polite, controlled. Kim Kardashian steps out in a tailored neutral, toned outfit, calm, composed, every movement practiced to perfection. She waves, that familiar half-smile fixed in place, eyes scanning the studio audience like she's counting reactions. Some faces beam, others watch quietly. Cameras glide in, catching every angle, every breath. Kim sits, crossing her legs carefully, hands folded, posture flawless. On the surface, it looks like another press stop. Another conversation she's mastered 1,000 times before. But Whoopi Goldberg doesn't lean forward right away. She watches. There's a pause, just long enough to feel it. Whoopi finally speaks, her voice calm, but heavy. Kim, you've been everywhere lately. Business, law, school, advocacy, fame, influence. She tilts her head slightly, and a lot of people feel like there's a disconnect. Kim nods, already prepared. I understand that perception, she says smoothly. But everything I do comes from wanting to. Sunny Hostin leans in before Kim can finish. Wanting to help? Sunny asks, eyebrow raised. The audience murmurs softly. Because some people feel your platform helps you more than anyone else. A ripple moves through the room. Kim blinks once. The smile stays, but it thins. I don't agree with that, she replies. I've worked really hard to use my voice responsibly. Joy Bijo lets out a small laugh. Not loud, not cruel, but unmistakable. Worked hard. Joy repeats. Kim, a lot of women work hard. Most of them don't start on third base. The audience reacts immediately. A mix of gasps and claps. Kim's eyes flicker toward the crowd, then back to the table. For the first time, she shifts in her seat. I've never said I didn't have advantages, Kim responds, her tone firmer now. But I also didn't ask to be dismissed because of where I started. Whoopi finally leans forward, elbows on the table. Here's the thing, she says slowly. Nobody's dismissing your work. But when you speak about struggle, about justice, about understanding real people, some folks feel talked at, not talked with. That lands. Kim inhales deeply. The camera zooms closer. Her jaw tightens. With respect, Whoopi. I've spent years listening. I've sat with families, with inmates, and then you go back to a world most of them will never see. Sunny cuts in. That's the tension. The studio grows quiet. Even the audience seems to lean forward now. Kim's hands unclasp. She presses her palms lightly against her knees, grounding herself. So, what am I supposed to do? Kim asks. Stay silent. Not use my platform at all. Alyssa Farah Griffin finally speaks, trying to soften the edge. I don't think anyone's saying that. I think they asking how awareness and accountability coexist. But Whoopi's eyes never leave Kim. No, she says what they are asking is whether intention excuses impact. That's when the smile disappears completely. Kim's voice lowers. I'm tired of being told my voice only counts when it's convenient. I've earned the right to speak. The audience reacts again, louder this time. Some applause, some uneasy shifting. Joy glances at Whoopi, sensing the turn. Earned, Joy says carefully. Or leveraged. Kim turns to Joy sharply. That's not fair. Joy shrugs. It's honest. The tension is no longer subtle. It's thick, almost physical. Kim's eyes glisten, not with tears, but with frustration she's fought her whole life to keep hidden. She looks down for half a second, then back up. Resolve hardening. You want honesty? Kim says, I've been underestimated, ridiculed, reduced to a headline for decades. And still, I showed up. Still, I did the work. Whoopi nods slowly. And people see that, but they also see power. And power comes with responsibility, especially when you say you represent others. The words hang in the air. Kim leans forward now, mirroring Whoopi's posture. Then tell me what you want from me, because it feels like no matter what I do, it's never enough. The audience falls silent. Whoopi doesn't answer right away. She looks at Kim, really looks at her, then glances toward the audience. That, she says quietly, might be the first real thing you've said today. A sharp intake of breath echoes from somewhere in the crowd. Kim freezes. For a split second, the camera catches it. The realization that this conversation has slipped out of her control. The polished responses, the rehearsed humility, the media training, it's all colliding with something raw and unpredictable. And the clash is only just beginning. Kim sits back slightly, the tension crackling like electricity across the table. The audience is leaning in, sensing the storm about to erupt. Every camera angle captures her carefully composed face, but her eyes tell the truth. A mix of irritation, disbelief, and a faint, unyielding pride. This isn't just a talk show anymore. This is a reckoning. Sunny Hostin picks up the thread again, her voice measured, but sharp. Kim, I understand the challenges you faced, but some people feel your words often overshadow the issues you claim to champion. It comes across as performative. She gestures lightly, emphasizing her point without pointing directly at Kim. It's like the platform is louder than the purpose. Kim exhales slowly, her fingers drumming lightly against her thigh. Performative, she asks, her tone calm, but carrying an unmistakable edge. Sunny, I've literally spent years working on criminal justice reform. Meeting with legislators, fighting for clemency. Are you telling me that because I'm me? It doesn't count. Joy beams in now, a glint of curiosity and challenge in her eyes. It's not about what you do, Kim. It's how people perceive it. When someone like you steps into these serious arenas, the optics matter a lot. People are looking for authenticity, not a resume. The audience murmurs, some nod, some frown. The tension grows and cameras pan over the crowd to catch reactions, a mix of admiration, confusion, and anticipation. Kim's lips press into a thin line. She's clearly bracing herself. I've been authentic my entire life, Kim says, leaning forward. Her voice rises, but just enough to command attention without sounding angry. Every mistake, every success, every moment of visibility, I've lived it. And yes, I've used my platform, but always with purpose. I'm not here for approval. I'm here to do the work that matters. Whoopi Goldberg leans back, crossing her arms, her expression unreadable, but eyes sharp. Purpose is good, Kim, she says slowly, each word deliberate. But intention alone doesn't erase privilege. And people feel that. They see the wealth, the access, the influence, and then they hear the words. Sometimes the words don't land the way you intend. Kim's hands clench slightly, her posture rigid. So, what am I supposed to do? Shrink into the background because I have access and influence. That's the opposite of progress. Sunny shakes her head. It's not about shrinking, Kim. It's about connection. You can't just speak at people. You have to meet them where they are. Otherwise, your message loses credibility. Kim's eyes flash with frustration. I meet them where they are. I've spoken in prisons, in classrooms, in communities most people don't even think about. I've sacrificed time, energy, and privacy to advocate for change. Alyssa Farah Griffin interjects, trying to steer the conversation toward clarity. Kim, no one's doubting your efforts, but public perception is complicated. The more visible you are, the more people dissect every word, every action. That's what we're talking about. Kim's gaze narrows, her jaw set. I can't control perception. I can only control what I do and how I show up. I refuse to apologize for showing up. Whoopi leans forward again, elbows on the table, her voice soft but unyielding. Kim, this isn't about apologizing. It's about understanding the weight of influence. You have millions of eyes on you. Millions. And with that comes scrutiny. Sometimes deserved, sometimes not. But you can't dismiss it outright. The audience shifts in their seats. A few people audibly murmur their agreement while others glance at Kim with a mix of curiosity and awe. The cameras linger on her, catching the micro-expressions, the subtle tightening of her lips, the rapid blinking, the slight tilt of her head. Every second conveys the internal storm she's managing. Kim exhales sharply, finally leaning back, her hands open in a gesture of both defiance and exhaustion. I get it. I understand scrutiny, but I won't let it silence me. Not ever. If speaking out makes people uncomfortable, then that discomfort isn't mine to fix. It's theirs to confront. The room falls silent for a heartbeat. Then Joy Behar tilts her head, a faint smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. You know, Kim, there's a difference between standing firm and standing aloof. Sometimes people confuse confidence with detachment. That's all I'm saying. Kim's eyes lock with Joy's, sharp and unyielding. And sometimes people confuse detachment with resilience. She fires back. I've had my entire life dissected. My family, my work, my choices. I'm not here to entertain anyone's doubts. I'm here to make a difference. Whoopi watches quietly. A small nod acknowledging Kim's intensity. I can respect that, she says. But respect is mutual, Kim. You have to meet the people halfway, or even the best intentions get lost. Kim leans forward one last time, voice steady, but with an unmistakable fire. I don't need anyone's permission to do the work I believe in. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to be effective. The audience shifts again. Some applaud quietly. Others sit frozen in tension. The energy in the studio has transformed from polite conversation to something almost tangible. A collision of ideals, personalities, and ego. And in that charged moment, the cameras catch it all. The defiance in Kim's posture, the measured scrutiny in Whoopi's gaze, the mixture of challenge and curiosity in the other hosts. This is no longer just a talk show appearance. This is a showdown that will ripple across social media headlines and conversations for days to come. And even as the tension simmers, the unspoken truth lingers in the air. No one here will walk away unchanged. The tension doesn't let up. The studio lights feel hotter, the air thicker, as if the cameras themselves are holding their breath. Kim's usual polish is still there, but it's layered now with a raw edge that wasn't present when she first walked in. Every host is alert, every audience member leaning forward, waiting for the next spark. Sunny host leans closer, voice steady, but cutting. Kim, we're not questioning your dedication. We're questioning approach. You speak about criminal justice reform. Yes, but sometimes the story is about you, not them. People want to feel seen, not lectured to. Kim tilts her head slightly, her eyes narrowing. I've spent countless hours in those communities. I've advocated for real change. If sharing that work feels like I'm centering myself, maybe that's because people aren't used to seeing someone like me in spaces where change happens. Joy Bijo raises a hand, her tone more teasing than harsh, but the weight is still there. Someone like you, Kim, please. That sounds like privilege cloaked in humility. The audience shifts, a ripple of laughter, a collective intake of breath. Kim's gaze sharpens, piercing, her hands, gripping the edge of the table for balance. Privilege isn't a cloak, she says firmly. It's reality, but using it responsibly doesn't make me less genuine. It makes me accountable. Whoopi Goldberg's expression softens just a fraction, though the intensity in her eyes never wavers. Accountable, yes, but accountability isn't just about doing the work you think matters. It's about listening to how your presence and your words are received. Influence can amplify voices or drown them out. Kim leans forward, a flicker of impatience breaking through. I listen, I engage. I don't silence voices. I elevate them. But apparently that's never enough for some people. Sun's eyes flash. Maybe it's not about enough, Kim. Maybe it's about perspective. People want nuance. They want to know that you see the complexity without oversimplifying or performing. Kim exhales sharply, the air in her lungs sounding almost like a sigh of defiance. I am nuanced. I've sat in rooms no one else gets invited to. I've learned. I've grown. I've fought battles that people can't even imagine. And I've done it while being scrutinized every single day. Joy tilts her head, leaning back. I studying Kim like a puzzle she's trying to solve. And yet the public sometimes sees only the highlight reel. That's the challenge of visibility. You can work your whole life, but a single misstep, real or perceived, becomes the story. The audience murmurs, the tension palpable. Some are nodding, some are shifting uncomfortably. The cameras catch it all. The subtle exhalations, the tight grip of Kim's hands, the deliberate leaning of the hosts, the almost imperceptible glances between them. Whoopi leans forward again, voice softer now, almost conspiratorial. Kim, you have power. That's undeniable, but the way power is wielded is just as important as the work itself. People will critique intent, sure, but they react to impact, and impact is messy. Kim's eyes flash with fire, but her voice is controlled. Messy is part of reality. Whoopi, I didn't ask to have this level of visibility. But now that I do, I have a responsibility to act, to speak, to influence. If that makes people uncomfortable, so be it. That's the price of action. Joyce smirks faintly. Some would call that defiance. Others might call it stubbornness. Kim doesn't flinch. Call it what you want. I call it perseverance. The studio falls silent again, each host weighing the words. Alyssa Farah Griffin leans in gently, trying to mediate. Kim, I think everyone here respects your work, but it's clear there's a disconnect in how it's perceived. Maybe this conversation isn't just about defending yourself, but about bridging that gap. Kim's lips pressed together. She looks at Alyssa, then across the table at Whoopi and Joy, her expression hardening with a mix of frustration and resolve. I don't need permission to be effective. I need engagement to make a difference. If that means people disagree with me, so be it. Disagreement doesn't negate action. The audience shifts again. Some clapping quietly, others frozen, sensing the intensity in every word. There's an unspoken electricity in the air. A tension that's equal parts admiration, anticipation, and uncertainty. Sunny host's voice cuts through the quiet. Kim, that's fair. But influence comes with nuance. If you don't acknowledge how people interpret your actions, you risk alienating the very audience you hope to reach. Kim leans forward one last time, eyes locked on Sunny. I acknowledge it, but I refuse to shrink or apologize for using my voice. The work is bigger than perception, and I'll continue speaking, acting, advocating, regardless of discomfort. A brief pause follows. The room is heavy with unspoken understanding, an uneasy truce formed in the storm of dialogue. Whoopi finally nods slightly, almost imperceptibly. Joy leans back, folding her arms with a thoughtful expression. The audience, sensing the shift, murmurs in approval, some clapping softly. And even as the conversation appears to settle, the tension lingers. Because this is more than a debate. It's a collision of worlds, a confrontation of perception versus intent, privilege versus action, public image versus private dedication. And Kim Kardashian has made it clear. She will not be diminished. She will not be silenced. And she will not walk away quietly. The stage is set for what will become one of the most talked about moments in daytime television. A clash that promises to echo far beyond this studio into headlines, social media feeds, and conversations across the country. The storm isn't over yet. The conversation doesn't lose momentum. If anything, it grows sharper, heavier, charged with a tension that seems to vibrate through the studio lights. Kim's posture is still immaculate, but there's a subtle edge now, a controlled fire burning just beneath the surface. Every word she speaks is measured, deliberate, but you can feel the simmering intensity in the slight tightening of her jaw, the quickened rhythm of her breath. Whoopi Goldberg leans forward again, resting her elbows on the table, eyes locked on Kim. You know, Kim, it's not just about what you do, it's about how it's perceived. People want honesty, humility, and accountability all at once. And sometimes those things feel at odds when the person in the spotlight is you. Kim's gaze sharpens, a flicker of incredul crossing her face. You mean because I'm successful? Because I have a platform? Because I look a certain way? Her voice rises slightly, not in anger, but in disbelief that the point still needs clarification. All of those things come with scrutiny. I've lived under a microscope my entire life. I know exactly how it looks, and I'm still here, still fighting for the causes I believe in. Joy Behar tilts her head, a mixture of curiosity and challenge in her expression. Fighting is one thing, Kim, but communication is another. People need to feel connected, not lectured to. And let's be honest, sometimes your public image overshadows the work. Kim leans forward, her voice steady, but razor sharp. And what exactly do you want from me? A performance that looks palatable to everyone watching. I can't craft every word to avoid criticism. I act, I advocate, I educate, and if people see me, so be it. That visibility is part of the change. The audience shifts, murmuring in anticipation, the energy in the studio growing thicker. Cameras pan slowly, capturing every reaction. Some faces edged by her resolve, others skeptical, some clearly anticipating the next verbal spark. The tension is almost tangible. A living thing moving across the table. Sunny Hostin leans in. Voice calm but precise. Kim, influence is a tool. Yes, but it's also a responsibility. People scrutinize because they care about authenticity. If your actions are seen as performative, it undermines the very work you're trying to do. Kim's eyes flash. I've never performed for approval. My work is real. Every step, every effort, every advocacy moment is genuine. I don't need validation. I need impact. Alyssa Farah Griffin attempts to diffuse the tension. Her voice softer, more measured. Kim, no one here doubts your commitment. But part of leadership, especially in public spaces, is understanding how words are received. That doesn't diminish the work. It enhances it. Kim leans back for a brief second. I scanning the room, the cameras, the audience. The weight of scrutiny is heavy, but she doesn't flinch. I understand reception, but I refuse to let perception dictate my actions. Doing good work isn't about optics. It's about results. Tangible change. That's what I'm here for. Whoopi Goldberg folds her hands together, her voice steady but piercing. Results matter, Kim. But so does empathy. People aren't responding to your intentions. They are responding to your presence. And presence carries responsibility. That's the nuance that often gets lost. Kim's fingers drum lightly against the table. Her eyes are intense, unwavering. I'm fully aware of my responsibility, but I'm also aware that no one person can control how the world perceives them. I can only control what I do. And what I do is fight for change every single day. Joy bends forward slightly, her tone sharp but conversational. You're right, Kim. You can't control everything. But the moment you're in the spotlight, every action is amplified. And if people perceive it as self-serving, that's part of the conversation you need to have. Kim exiles sharply, almost audibly. I don't consider the work I do self-serving. I consider it necessary. And if people interpret it differently, that's not my failing. That's their perspective. The room falls into a tense silence. The audience sits on the edge of their seats, sensing that this conversation is more than a disagreement.